In one of my previous videos, I talked about the Jubilee Line we never got, or as it was to be known in the early 70s, the Fleet Line. This would have cut beneath the West End and the City to Fenchurch Street, but it would have gone further still. You see, as well as relieving congestion in the centre of London, the line would have served an important secondary purpose. In the first half of the 20th century, the London Docklands had been the largest and busiest port in the world, but times were changing. In the 1960s, a new kind of shipping was developed: containerisation, a faster and more efficient means of transporting cargoes. This meant larger ships, too big for the 19th century docks to handle. Ships instead docked downriver at Tilbury. By the end of the 1960s, it was clear that the port wouldn't make it to the end of the century. One by one, the old docks closed. This was a disaster for East London. The docks and their associated industries had been massive employers, and nearly 83,000 people were made redundant. Once magnificent warehouses, wharves and factories lay derelict. Something had to be done. It was time for redevelopment. The Fleet Line was to be a part of this. Phase 2 would take the line into the city proper, and Phase 3 would drive a tube line into the Docklands. There were two different phases too. The one I'll deal with today would have taken the tube south of the river. In fact, this version of the plan was also known as the River Line or the Thames Line. Starting at Fenchurch Street, new tunnels would have been dug beneath the Thames. Then the tube would have surfaced here, at Surrey Quays, or Surrey Docks as it was known back then. This is now part of the Overground, but back then it was the East London Line, a branch of the Metropolitan. The East London Line has a long and complicated history, but basically the idea was that the Metropolitan trains would terminate here, and the Fleet Line would have taken over everything southwards. This means it would have branched in two directions. One would take it to New Cross Gate, where the branch would terminate. The other would take it to New Cross. Incidentally, in 1972, a test section of tunnel was built near here. Tunnelling south of the river has always been difficult due to the wet and gravelly soil, so it was important to see whether the plans for the Fleet Line were even feasible. The test tunnel's still down there somewhere. From here, the line would have gone on to Lewisham. The line would have terminated here for now. There were plans to take things further, but I'll save those for another video. The scheme was abandoned for various reasons, mostly due to politicians not wanting to spend all that money. As things stand, Lewisham is on the National Rail Network and the DLR, but not the Underground. But at the time of writing, there are plans afoot to extend the Bakerloo Line east, and those plans do include Lewisham. So who knows? Hello all. Hope you enjoyed this tertiary episode of Tales from the Tube. If you did, then please feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you fancy it, and share, comment, all those other things that YouTubers like you to do. Next up, I'll be talking about the other Phase 3 plan, which would have been something very different. See you then for another Tale from the Tube.